Warning, this video may be quite long and in-depth. It's not meant for entertainment purposes, but really for people who are considering actually buying this head unit. A working knowledge of wiring in head units and connecting them to external amplifiers is highly recommended.
Hey everyone, how's it going? And in this video I'm going to be going over the installation of the Android head unit in my 2005 Audi A4. So this is really a follow-up to the previous video where I did a whole review in general of what these Android head units are like. So if you've been really interested in the last one, I think I really need to show you how to install this because it's nowhere near as simple as it looks, unfortunately. But hopefully with this video, as a guide, you can hopefully won't face the problems I did and should hopefully get this up and running nice and smoothly, fitted correctly, all set up on the hardware and software side. So let's delve straight into this.
The first problem is the physical height of the unit itself. It's a little bit too tall for the A4's dash, which is weird because it's meant to be a fitted unit. It seems like they must have overestimated the vertical height slightly. What we need to do is skim about 4mm from the top with a Dremel tool. If we don't do this, you will find the cup holders and hazard warning switches will get stuck on the top of the head unit. Make sure to mask the plastic off to provide you with a straight line and to prevent unwanted scratches. Once roughly down to size, finish off with 240 grit sandpaper on the top to smooth it out. It's a good idea to go back and forth to the car, removing a little bit at a time until you get a perfect fit. The main problem with this install is due to the A4 itself. On most cars, the head unit provides power to the front and rear speakers via a built-in amplifier. This isn't the case on the A4. Depending on what model you have, you'll have something referred to as a semi-amplified or fully amplified sound system. The Semi basically has the Audi head unit providing power to the front speakers, whilst the factory external amplifier located in the boot provides power to the rear speakers and integrated subwoofer. On a fully amplified system, also known as the Bose system, an external amplifier provides power to all the speakers. Because of these setups, the A4 isn't the easiest car to wire in. If you just plug the head unit's wiring harness into the car, you get no rear speakers on the Semi system and nothing at all on the fully amplified system. In my car, I have the Semi amplified system. Please repeat whatever instructions I have laid out again for the front speakers if you have the fully amplified system. Now imagine a normal aftermarket head unit connected to an external amplifier. You typically run RCA cables from the head unit to the amplifier and also connect the remote switch too. The A4 isn't really that different to this in this regard. The wiring harness that goes between the head unit and the car's factory wiring has male RCA inputs and a remote switch lead that connects to the female RCA outputs on the aftermarket head unit. Connecting all these up will indeed provide power to the rear speakers, but you find in this semi-amplified system that the rear speakers are about half the volume of the front speakers. I've tried software mods, but these just resulted in distortion. I've also tried altering the fader further back, but this just gave a very low overall volume. This is due to the car's external amplifier not having any gain control on a signal like a normal aftermarket amp would. Because of this, we need to wire in the rear speakers slightly differently to provide a slightly stronger low-level signal to the car's amplifier. We do this by using a line level converter. This head unit still has an amplified rear output on the wiring harness, but they lead to nowhere when they meet the car's wiring. We're going to take these wires and connect them to the line level converter. This converter will step the signal down to a safe level for the amplifier, but you can tweak it to make it just a bit stronger than the RCA outputs on the back of the head unit. You can find a link in the description below to the line level converter that I used.
So in order to do this, what we need to do is, firstly, if we look at our head unit, let's zoom in on this. The wiring diagram back shows exactly what each pin does. So on this plug here, we're looking for the rear right and rear left positive and negative wires. So we're going to be taking 4 wires out of the harness. And according to this, the colours of these of the rear left is the green and black, and the rear right is the purple and black. So what I find here, looking at the wiring harness, we have coming out of here, this is the one that goes into the head unit of the car, and this has all the wires for the power and the speakers. So we're going to leave this end untouched. What we need to look at is the wiring harness that goes into the car itself. So we have these ISO connections here. Now basically these pins on the outside, they go into these speakers on the car, but in the A4's wiring harness there's absolutely nothing there for them to go into. So we're going to remove these and stick down to the line out converter. And all we have to do is take a small electrician screwdriver and we actually just stick it, slide it down the side of the pins we want. So we look at the colour of the wires that the wiring diagram said, and then the pin we push at the same time should pull straight out just like that. And just FYI, it's the actual outside plugs outside pins we need to remove. So as you see now, we've got the 4 wires we need. All we need now is to wire these into the line out converter. So firstly, taking my wire strippers, so I'm just going to cut off the ends of the wires we took off the harness. So just cut them off like that. Then I'm just going to take some heat shrink tubing and stick them over the ends of the wires that we've just cut off. And one at a time, when my soldering iron warms up, I'm going to actually connect the wires together one by one. So let's start with the wire on the harness. We're going to the purple and black wire, which is our rear right. We're just going to go to the black wire on the converter. So I'm just going to pull that off, just give it a little bit more. There we go, and basically we're going to intertwine the 2 wires. And with this up to heat now, it's time just to solder these 2 together. So now basically all this is connected to the harness. What I need to do is find the rear left out and the rear right out and basically just connect them into here. So I put the corresponding colours on here just to make it a little bit easier in the future. So we'll find our, again like I said, rear right out straight into here and rear left out straight into here. Now like I said before, if you have the Bose amp you would just do the exact same thing with this for the front speakers. And then included in our kit we had this here, the CAN bus decoder, so this plugs into our harness as well. It goes straight into this white wire like that. And basically what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of tape all this together using some of this tape. It's like a fabric tape, makes it look really OEM, but it's also going to help stop all this rattling behind the dashboard of the car. So of course it's completely optional if you want to do this, but I'd say it's highly recommended to do it. I've already kind of done it with this here just to keep all the wires grouped together that I might need to connect stuff to in the future. And now with our head unit, we just need to find our output harness, you know, the ones with all the pre-outs and stuff, and we're still going to have to connect this one up because there's one wire we need. So this is going to go into here, so into here like this. And the only wire we're going to use is one that says amp connection, and that is the the blue and white wire. And we're going to find the corresponding one here, which is again amp connection. And these 2 just join up like that. What this wire does is basically turns the amplifier on and off when the head unit comes on and off. It's just basically a little remote switch, so we have to have that connect up, otherwise the amplifier in the back of the car will just stay off the entire time. So now we have everything on this to get this in the car and get the speakers working and get the sound correct. We'll go over the other connections in a little bit, but we'll get the sound set up now and balanced correctly. Oh, and one last thing we just need to do as well is if we take a little screwdriver here, a little posi drive, and see these levels here, we're going to stick these to the min at the moment. We'll turn them up as needed when they're in the car.
So with all the wiring done here, it's time to actually install this in the car. Now unfortunately I can't actually show you taking the radio out because, like I said earlier, my car was a single DIN, so I have no double DIN radio to stick here. What I will do instead, I'll stick a link in the description below to a site called Total Technic. They do YouTube videos. It's basically does all removal of all the components on their Audi A4, so they'll show you exactly what you need to do to remove your old radio. So with the head unit out, your dashboard should look something like this. Now the problem with this new unit, it falls into the same problems that all aftermarket head units fall into, especially when there's quite a bit of wiring at the back, is that trying to get stuff to fit in properly can be a little bit hard. Now the problem with this car is, I can get this in here, see this big fat wiring block at the back here? That won't come down at the moment, so what we actually need to do is trim a little bit, there's a tie wrap holding this in, and we just need to kind of cut this off, and it's going to allow the wiring harness to kind of fall down here below the climate control unit, which is going to make it much easier to actually slide the new head unit into the back. So as you can see now, with that gone, this will just pull out, and so much more movement, and just tuck that down away. But in terms of installing the new radio, here's how it goes. So we've got the ISO plugs on mine, the 3 plugs here. Now that's going to go directly into the harness on the aftermarket head unit. Now these will only go in one way, so there's no wrong way of sticking these in, so it's time to connect them all up. For the time being, I'm going to leave all the other connections aside for now. We're just going to actually tune the speakers, make sure everything's working first, because we need to actually adjust this box to get the levels correct. Now I know my interface here looks different to yours, but it's just a new home screen I've stuck on. But what we need to do before we actually try balancing any of the sound, we need just to alter one setting, which is quite important. So if we go to our settings, which should be the same once you actually get into it on your one, like here, and scroll all the way down to the bottom and go on to car. Now what this has is loads of extra settings here. We want to click factory settings, and it's going to ask us for passwords. Now the password for these units is 126. If you have trouble remembering that, just think of a fierce 126 and click done and OK. And this is going to give us access to a few more menu items here, which is actually quite useful because we can change stuff like the car logo as well if you want to do that. Radio frequencies, all CAN bus settings and everything like that. Oh, and if you want to remap the keys to do different things, use this menu. The one we're interested in is voice, and we've got different volume levels here. Now as standard, this system one, if I recall right, is either on 5 or 10. Now I'm just going to whack it all the way up to 20. Now this will boost the system volume quite significantly. But quite importantly, it doesn't seem to be a software boost, it actually does seem to boost the amplifier. So it doesn't seem to be any extra distortion added into the audio file, so you can whack this up to 20 and you get a pretty balanced system then between the front and the rear speakers using a line out converter. So one other thing we need to do, if we go to our amplifier settings, when actually we're going through the when trying to sound out, we want to make sure that our fade and balance is set to all or in the center, so we can actually get a nice centered sound stage and get the volume between the front and the rear correct. Once you've done that, you actually then want to try every single corner to make sure your left center your left, your right center your right. Try sticking it directly back like that, make sure that all your speakers are in phase. And surprisingly, what actually really surprised me was, although the one I wired in, the rear left and right was fine, it was actually the front ones were inverted. The left channels being sent to the right, right channel to the left. And that came from the factory like that. So we need to change those pins around, which I'm going to show you how to do now, and then everything should line up perfectly.
Right, so we just encountered one problem then, which really surprised me actually. This box worked perfectly. The right channel at the rear was sent to the right channel, the left channel was sent to the left channel, and we had a great boost in volume. It was actually louder than the front, so we can turn this down a bit, so that's fantastic. The problem was, which really surprised me, was the stock wiring harness in here, in the well, you know, say the factory made wiring harness on the head unit. That's the wrong way around. The left channel's being sent to the right and the right to the left, and we haven't even touched these or messed with these. What we're going to have to do though is basically, the way we took the pins from the outside before to wire into this box, we're going to take the pins out, but we're just going to swap them around in here, so we'll invert these two and the channels should line up properly. Now it is really easy just to say, oh, we'll swap these two instead and both sides will line up, but our left channel will be on the right or right will be on the left, and I don't want to do that, so I'd rather just sort this one out like this. So it's really just a case again of sticking our little screwdriver down the pin, and then one of them's come out. We're going to have to do the same now with this one. Let's stick like the positive sides together first so we don't have to invert them, the polarities, otherwise we'll have the base cancelling out. So let's say we keep the top twos and swap them first. Actually, it's worth noting as well when you do this, because these little pins here, see that? That kind of folds down when you push them in, so you kind of just want to get a screwdriver and pry them back up a bit so the pins clip in and don't end up releasing themselves by accident. See, like that? Just give a little bit of a lip. See, because if you do that, they pull out really easy because they're flat. Yep, nice and secure. Let's do the same now with the top ones and invert them.
Now the antenna connections can be a little bit hard, so I just want to show you quickly on the Audi head unit what the antenna connections at the back of the car are like. You'll notice on my one at least, some of them have a slightly different connection. I'll show you that in a picture on the screen now. However, on my one there's two connections. It's the traditional big antenna style connector, and it's this little Farker connector here as well. So basically you will have a lead coming out of the car itself, which is basically the female version of this end, which will plug directly into there. Now the problem is, aftermarket head units, they have just one aerial adapter at the back here. So the trouble is, as you can see now, I've got two connections and one on here. There's another problem with the A4 as well, is that both antennas are powered because there's no aerial on top of the roof. It's kind of around the rear screen, and there's an amplifier in the back of the car. So what you need if you've got this type of setup on your car is a lead from CK called the S1234 lead. It's about £7. I'm going to show you quickly how to wire that lead in. Unfortunately, I don't have that lead. I made a mistake when ordering this, and I thought I didn't need a lead, but I did. So I'm going to have to do a workaround with three different leads. But I'm going to show you basically how to wire this lead in, which is extremely similar to wiring the S1234 lead in. So if you can do this one, there's no problem doing the other one. The S1234 lead has 4 connections on it. 2 of them plug into the car's 2 antennas. On the other end, one connection plugs into the antenna connection on the head unit, and the other into the blue antenna wire on the head unit's main wiring harness. Using 3 separate leads, I made my own version of the S1234 lead, which will be identical to wire in. Mine's just a little bit more bulky. Right, here's a little bit of a neater looking harness now, so I've kind of took all those wires, connects them all together, used loads of tester tape around here just to keep it soft and dampened and keep it looking much simpler and professional. So this, if you've got the S1234 adapter, will look very similar to this, just this is going to be less bulky. So I've took the 2 power connections off my ones here and soldered into one. We've got one aerial connection, and we've got the 2 connections now to go to the car. So let's go and stick this in the car and show you how to wire this in. So here's what we've got on the car here. These are the 2 connections we need to wire to. So to the end of our harness, we're going to wire them directly into there. Then we've got to the aerial connection, a male one, on the end of the harness. Let's stick this into the back of the radio, and that goes directly into this port here. So what I need to do is, on the wiring harness, coming out of the back of here, you'll find the antenna connection, which is this blue wire labelled antenna. And what we need to do on the harness we have here for the antenna, we want to stick this power connection into the antenna connection here. So as you can hear, we have a signal at the moment, which is very, very weak. Now when we connect these 2 in, you're going to hear that's a much stronger connection like this.
For the stage adaptation of Victor Victoria, a heart-melting voice. And
if you want to connect these, this does come with the wiring harness on the radio. You can actually just crimp this down if you want. Ideally, I'd recommend using bullet connectors for these, so you can separate them. I don't have any at hand at the moment, so I'm going to have to go with the crimping method. And finally, I'm just going to stick some insulation tape